Hi everybody, this is a video, just a quick video reminder on simplifying rational expressions. For those of you that weren't here, especially rational expressions are just fractions, but they have letters in it. So now I've got to show you how to do that. So it can be letters in the bottom, letters in the top, letters in both, it doesn't matter. So the first thing you need to remember about fractions is that the denominator can never equal 0. So what you do first of all are you do what are called exclusions. Exclusions are what's the only thing that the variable cannot equal, which would make the denominator not equal to 0, or equal to 0. So it should say equal to 0, sorry. But you don't want the denominator to equal 0. So for example, if I take this denominator, it doesn't matter what the numerator says, if I take the denominator and I set it up equal to 0 and I solve it, that would mean x is -3. So notice if I put -3 back in here, -3 plus 3 makes that equal 0, and so that's the exclusion. X can be any number I want, except x cannot equal -3. So if the problems ask you for the exclusions, that's what you do. So let's do another one. Again, doesn't matter what the top says, so you just take the denominator, set it up equal to 0, and solve it. So x cannot equal 1. Again, if you put a 1 in, 1 minus 1 is 0, makes it 0. But in this case, you got to do a little bit more. You got to practice factoring. So for most of you, factoring is this. Some of you are starting to get away from that, but remember to do the top, it's the first times the last is the top, and then the middle number, or your linear term, is the bottom. So two numbers that multiply to make 5. Oops, negative and a positive 1 here. So then if I fact, that would be x minus 5 times x plus 1. So now notice there are two x's, so that means I have two exclusions. And again, I'm just doing the denominator. So x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. And if I solve those, x cannot equal 5 and -1. So that's how you do exclusions. Oops, can you see that? Sorry. All right, so now I'm going to actually show you what you do in order to simplify these, or in other words, reduce them like you have been. All right, so here are the steps. We're going to start with this rational expression right here. And the three things that you do is you always put it in factored form first, then you figure out the exclusions, and then you simplify. So I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to do the top. And if I factor 2r minus 4, factored form first, notice there's no power of 2, so I can't do the x thing, but I do notice that they are divisible by 2. So that changes to 2 times r minus 4. Okay? And then the bottom, r minus 2, cannot be factored, so to put it in factored form, you just put 1 times r minus 2. Notice, oops, I did r minus 2. This should be r minus 2 here, sorry. If you check, 2 times r is 2r, and 2 times that would be -4. So that's how I knew it was wrong. So now, notice how I changed that to multiplication. Now, your exclusions, r cannot be, just look at the denominator, 2, that's your exclusion. And now to simplify that, anything on top can cancel with anything on the bottom. So there's an r minus 2. So all that's left is 2 over 1, which equals 2. And those are the steps that we're going to use in the next examples. So here's my next example. Factored form first. So I take the top and I notice that 3 goes into both of those. 3 times 5a minus 1. And again, you could check. This times this is 15a. This times this is -3. The bottom, nothing to do. I could change 24 to 3 times 8 if I wanted to. And now anything on top can cancel with anything on the bottom, so the 3's could cancel, which leaves 5a minus 1 over 8. There are no exclusions on this one because there's no variables. So if you don't have any variables, there's no exclusions. Next one, factored form first, so the only thing I can do to that, take it times 1, which you're going to want to put parentheses around it. Parentheses mean don't move them, don't separate them at all. This one, you'll do this process here and you'll get x minus 5 times x minus 5. Your exclusions, x cannot equal 5. And so now anything on top can cancel with anything on the bottom. Notice how I changed from V's to X's. That's what I do. Let's pretend they're either, I can make that an X. Okay, cross that out. What's left is 1 over, and leave the parentheses around it, X minus 5. Whoops, sorry about that. Last two, because I think it's not that hard. Factored form first. The hardest part about this whole lesson is can you factor? So I notice I'm not even going to look at the bottom. I notice there's a 4 common. So 4 times n minus 1. See how it's something times something? That's factored form. Over this one, I know that 2 goes into both of those. So 2 would be 3n minus 10. Exclusions, if I take 3n minus 10 and set it up equal to 0 and solve it, I get 3n equals 10. N equals 10/3. So my exclusion is 10/3 if it asks for it, so it can't equal that. And then, is there anything up here that's also down here? No, but numbers go with numbers, so I can reduce this by 1 and 2. So my answer is 2 times n minus 1 over 1 times 3n minus 10. You might also see this written like this. They might actually do the distributive property there, so it'd be 2n minus 2 over 3n minus 10. Please keep the parentheses around that so you know you can't separate it. All right, last one. This is a toughie. But first thing I notice on the top is that there's an x common. So I'm going to actually do that part down here. So if I take an x out, that still leaves x squared minus x minus 42. And now I can change that to negative 42 and negative 1, which means 7 and 6. And negative there. So then it's going to be, can you still see? X minus 7, x plus 6, and then I have to bring that x down here too. So there's my numerator. So I'm going to write it down up here then. So it's x minus 7, x plus 6, and again, we have to practice these in order to get good at them. This one, I'm going to move it right here so you can see what I'm doing. There's a 2 that goes into them. So if I divide them by 2, it's x squared plus 10x, or plus, minus 10x plus 21. And then it's 21 on top, negative 10 on the bottom. So it's going to be negative 7, negative 3. So I have x minus 7 times x minus 3, and then I have to bring this 2 down. So then I write it back up here. So 2 x minus 7, x minus 3. My exclusions are going to be x cannot equal 7 or 3. Can you see what I'm writing? Sorry, got to move my paper over. And now, anything on top can cancel with anything on the bottom. So I got x minus 7s. So all that's left is x times x plus 6 over 2 times x minus 3. Please do not take away the parentheses, because if you do, you're going to think you can cross stuff out. Just do the best you can, and I will answer your questions when we have class again. This is due when you get back to class. So if that's Thursday, that's Thursday. If it's Friday, it's Friday. Otherwise, it's Monday for some of you. Good luck.